How's everybody doing this fine morning or evening? I think everybody's all across the time zones.
All good here in Central Europe. From Italy, 3 p.m. here. What about you, Ilya?
Now I miss Italy. You said anytime anybody says Italy, like I go back to like my time in Italy, and I instantly miss that.
I can
Um,
I can complain. Yeah.
okay. Lex, you might want to restart something. I can't seem like I'm inviting you, but you either need to accept my invitation or request an invite yourself. I'm not sure why you're not being brought up on stage yet. Um, let's give him one more second. Okay. I think there we go. Let's see one more time. Okay. There we go. We're all here. Fabulous. Okay, I think we can get started as people fill in.
Right.
We'll,
Guys, good evening or good morning.
unfortunately, Alex from Legion DAO had to cancel at the last moment, but that's okay. We have lots to talk about here, so let me get started. So this is my name's Ilya. I'm one of the co-founders and partners at Sanctor Capital. And the host of Waypoint Web3. Waypoint Web3 is kind of a weekly Twitter Spaces that I started to kind of create a safe space for everybody to talk about all things Web3 gaming related. And today we're going to be talking about content creation. It's kind of it's a very interesting topic, and a topic very, very, very needed in the space, but very rarely discussed in detail. A few words before we get started. This is a recorded Spaces, and so we will have a recording posted of this, a few days after the fact. Also note, nothing I say is legal or financial advice. All of the opinions are my own, and you may hear names of companies and/or assets that we either held position, have position in, or may hold positions in the future. And for kind of full disclosure, the Spaces is produced by Sanctor Capital and United Gamers, and we have backed United Gamers. I think that takes care of all of these important official things to say. And now, without further ado, I want to start introducing our speakers. We have 4 awesome speakers today. Lex, when you're not speaking, could you mute yourself? So that would just be easier. Thank you. So I want to introduce our speakers. I'll kind of point to each one of you, and if you could kind of say your name and say a little bit about yourself, how you got into the space and what you do here now. That'd be awesome. And first up on my screen is Spike.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Spike. I'm a Web3 content creator. I take a gameplay first approach, and it's my mission to find amazing games and to unite Web2 and Web3 gamers in the metaverse. I got into Web3 and content creation last year playing a little game called Axie Infinity. I was a prominent community leader in the space, helped do some really cool stuff, and I've been very empowered by the tools in Web3 as a gamer and content creator. So I've just been so excited to share that with all my viewers, and we'll talk about different strategies I've been using to try to onboard Web2 users.
Awesome, thank you. Carolina?
Hello, can you guys hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well, I am a director of content at Base, a Web3 gaming company. I had previous experiences with traditional sports, and then like for 2 years, I was at Garena with esports Free Fire, which is like a very popular mobile gaming here in Brazil. And then after that, I met a few guys from Base, and I was just like impressed by the potential of Web3 gaming, really. So, and then I joined them last March, and now I'm just, trying to understand how we can bring more people to consume Web3 gaming and kind of re-educate these people from, all the past bad experiences they had with like economy and everything. And right now, that's what we're trying to do with our partners and also with our community.
Awesome. Thank you. Nico?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ilya, for the invite. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Nico, content lead at Unbound. We're building a platform to lend and borrow gaming NFTs across Web3 game titles. If you wish, in Web2 terminology, we are building the Airbnb of gaming NFTs. At least that's our objective in the next month. We have about 10,000 community members active across 4 Web3 games now. As for myself, I spent many years in big tech, including Google, Apple, TikTok, writing research and reports for them. But then, last year I wanted a new challenge, something new to discover, and I'm a lifelong gamer, so I thought gaming would be my gateway to this new universe called blockchain. And so I switched continent and joined Unbound, and really happy to be here. Spike was really one of the first content creators in Web3 gaming I started to follow, so excited to speak with you guys.
Awesome. And last but not least, Lex?
Hello, everyone. I am Lex. I'm a content creator for Facebook. I was once a professional player for the game Mobile Legends. I hope you guys are familiar with it. After retiring, I became partner for Facebook, so I was streaming my game. And then suddenly, one of my friends from high school asked me if he can become a scholar for a game called Axie. I got curious. I researched about it, and I thought back then I was just earning through selling some in-game stuff through MMORPG. But when Axie was presented to me, I was very obsessed with the idea of earning legitimately through gaming. So that is how I got into Web3 gaming.
Awesome. Thank you. So I want this to be kind of a free flow conversation. So I'm going to throw out topics and questions, and then anybody can jump in any order. If nobody's jumping in, then I will point to somebody and ask for an opinion. But otherwise, I'd like to have a free flow conversation and really stay out of it as much as I can. So to start, I want to kind of maybe open up with a somewhat of a silly question, but I think the term content creator is kind of a little bit nebulous for people in the industry. There's a lot of things that come to mind, but given how critical it is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I want to start with what does content creation mean to each of you, and why do you think it's so important right now?
All right, so let me start the conversation. I believe content creation helps people be educated in things that they are not familiar with, especially right now that people are more inclined into entertainment rather than education. Us content creators have the responsibility to educate and entertain them at the same time, so that the passing through of information is very smoothly to other people as well.
Yeah, I think is anything that can help you make a decision, that's content. So I really hate when people reduce content to just like videos, and that's not the point, right? Like photos are content, newsletters are content. So I think it's very important for us as content creators to also use this entire like map of possibilities to create content, and a variety of content, really.
To add a layer on top of what Carolina said, yeah, content creation could be a Twitter post, it could be a tweet longer, it could be video, pictures, of all sort. Anything that conveys a message that can be primarily educational, entertaining. It's more or less a creative way to convey messages.
Yeah, I completely agree with what I just said. Just adding that, I guess with Web3 specifically about also sense making, right? So I like the word responsibility, just because again, we're learning every day on Web3 and how it evolves. And it's also very hard. I remember when I first joined Web3 gaming, all this new terminology and all this new concept, games that were not games, were something else. And so in a way, it was a lot of sense making involved, and content, either video, written, or whichever channels that we use, was super important to me to sort of like make sense of what was going on, and sort of like being able to predict what could happen in coming months. So definitely also responsibility for content creators to have this task, educational task.
It's interesting that you mentioned kind of education. I think, Caroline, you said making decisions. I want to kind of focus on this. What is the purpose of content creators right now, especially in Web3? What are you trying to say if you're creating content? What are you trying to convey? And what do you think should be the purpose of content creators right now?
Well, for me, it's kind of different from Spike's perspective, for instance, because I'm producing content for a brand. So obviously we have, some content we create with partners, like with games and everything. But I would say that we have a few pillars. So like I do have content to reach new audiences. I do have content to retain this new audience. So like for them to connect with base and make a decision about like whether they want to, I don't know, join the sandbox, or if they want to join, I don't know, Upland, Axie Infinity, or Titan, or whatever. I think it's important for us to not only explain to them about what is the game and what are the possibilities, but not only the game, but everything else that comes with it, right? Because I think like that's the most challenging part of creating content for Web3 gaming, because it's not only about the games, it's about the entire atmosphere, like including, the technology and wallets and ownership and everything. So I think it really comes with this responsibility of helping people making this decision, but not only that, but also kind of preparing them to actually make the most out of it,
Yeah, I agree. And of course, we also have this ability to easy transition for Web2 gamers into Web3 gamers, so that they won't be wasting a lot of money into trying out. There's nothing wrong about trying out a lot of things, but there are a lot of Web3 games out there that are a little bit of scamish. So we also have this ability to help them decide which ones are better than the obvious failure projects.
I agree. And also, like, I think it's maybe not about what's happening now, but what will happen in like the near future, right? So, like, the more you know and the more you learn about it, like how to use the technology in your favor right now, because I really think like blockchain will have like a massive adoption in the future. Like, I'm like a believer of that. So I think really it's important to kind of prepare people for that, just so they can really use it as players and as consumers. I think that's the point. Like, especially as a brand, I think we do have this responsibility of preparing them with all the tools that they can use.
So really interesting point. If we look back at some of the Web2 games that have tried to make this jump into Web3, right? Some of the studios, I think Stalker is probably one of the more famous failed attempts right now. We've seen a lot of pushback from the traditional gamer community, and a number of people have started to say that this is a problem of how publishers and Web2 studios have tried to present blockchain. And so today it kind of becomes a problem of kind of what sort of content is being presented and how it's being presented. I'm kind of curious from your perspective, the Web2 studios that have tried Web3 so far and failed, the big names, what have they done wrong, and what do you think needs to be done differently for that migration or that adoption to kind of take place at a mass level?
I think the
I
best
believe.
example.
Go ahead, bro.
I think the best example of like a big fail from a Web2 company trying to market Web3 games was Ubisoft. A big part of it was the way you present and the way you package and present it. They were offering a free NFT for doing certain achievements in the game, and there's just really bad stigma against NFT and crypto because all the scams and some of the rug pulls. So on one half, you have people that are thinking that crypto and NFTs are just going to be a way for big developers to monetize us further, and that has to do with education. And then the other hand of it is, Earning was a large proponent of the viewership last year, and it helped bring in a lot of new people. But we're kind of going through a similar wave like we did with free to play about 10 years ago. The games just aren't ready yet, or they're not good enough to be competitors to the Web2 counterparts. So part of it is just trying to package and present the right way. Offering NFTs for free has been a way that I've seen 100 Thieves and other organizations do a very seamless way. I know a lot of people are also concerned with the environmental effects. So, being open and transparent that it's good for the environment. It just has to do with education. A lot of people don't understand technology and how it impacts the environment and, where we're going.
Yeah, I agree with
Definitely.
that. And
Go for it. Sorry.
no, go ahead, bro.
No, I just wanted to say, I definitely agree with Spike. I think overall, whether it's like Web 2 or like even like Web 3 native developers, whatever that means, I think they try to reverse engineer sort of like the way video games are usually designed, right? And I think we made a mistake of actually just not starting from what makes a great game, right? And at the end of the day, tying into what Carolina was saying also before, it's a great educational effort, but at some point they look at some games like Big Time or Immortal Game. There are just games. And of course, they have, let's say, tokenomics and Web3 elements like interoperability inside, but they're so ingrained into the game experience that you not even notice, unless, of course, they ask you for your wallet and whatnot. But theoretically, I think the aim would be to actually like develop games that are games and with some additions, of course, like NFTs and the interoperability and other features brought by blockchain, but not necessarily talking about this technology, right? Just extra features that are added to a fun game experience. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And just to add, I think the developers most developers right now is going to the bandwagon of developing Web3 games. Just really want to make a quick buck because of the sudden popularity of Web3 games, especially Axie Infinity. So there's this sudden big market for Axie Infinity. So a lot of a lot of developers are just trying to, get a slice of the pie. And they're actually missing the point that games should have this unique gameplay that everybody or the gamer should love to play before they really need to invest money in it. And although some of them really got money from a lot of players, it just turned into a loss for those players because they didn't really develop a very good game. And the only reason why the players are joining is because they have this thinking that it's an investment and it's just a game, and eventually they will earn back the money that they invested in. However, if we look at it, the future of Web3 gaming should always focus that gameplay is always king, not the tokenomics, not the how money is involved or how NFT or how will NFT be involved in the game, but rather without the NFT capability of this game, will players play my game? That's the first question that Web3 developers should answer for themselves. Will the players go back to this game for years and years to come, even if this game will not make the money or even if NFT is not involved into the creation of this game? So the NFT part of the game should only make the players play it so that they know that someday they could sell, they have the right to sell their accounts to other players. Because right now, in Web2 games, RMT or real money trading is not allowed. Like, let's say I'm a Guild Wars 2 player. I've been playing Guild Wars 2 for the past 10 years. It is not allowed for me to sell my Guild Wars 2 account to other players. That's against ArenaNet rules. But with NFT, and I will be the sole ownership of my account, and I'll be able to sell my Guild Wars 2 account if NFT is involved with Guild Wars 2. But then again, I won't be playing Guild Wars 2 if I didn't love the game at first. So I think that is the very basic question that Web3 developers have to manage first. Will the game be loved by the players that they are targeting?
I agree, and sorry, Ilya. I think like it's I wouldn't say they failed. I think like it's a very early stage, you know. I think we're all learning. Even like for content creation, for community building, of course we have some learnings that we use like for past experiences that we can apply now, but it's still like very early stage. So I think it's a lot of like do and learn and review and then see what, I don't know, you implement or you improve. And I really agree with Lex when he says that it has to have something like to the players, but also like, does this game have a community potential? Because what I've been like noticing from Web3 gaming and all the partners that we have been working with is like, you really need a strong and supportive community and a patient community, right? Because I think like in like the past, like, I don't know, last year, we saw a lot of greedy players, like only looking for like to earn with these games. And right now, I think it's important to focus on the potential for the community building and everything that the community can actually help to make this game grow and just stick around, you know.
I'm curious to kind of see what sort of content actually does well, right? Because we said a lot of things can be considered content, but what content does well with gamers? What content do you look to create, and what are the pillars of kind of what you're building that resonates with your community?
I can kind of bring into this. I've actually been through a couple content shifts and a couple brand refreshes. So I guess I started out as more of your kind of play and earn um, streamer. I started in Axie. It's very prominent to for people to do watch and earn, which is where if you watch someone playing Axie long enough, you'd offer them a scholarship. And at the time, there was a lot of monetary incentives, as mentioned by Carolina. A lot of players came in with more of an earning focus, more so than a community or gameplay, first kind of sentiment. So we found out that that wasn't sustainable. There definitely was a lot of benefits to kind of following that meta, um, and it helped kind of push the space to where it is now. But what I've seen and kind of shifted towards was that there's 300 million crypto wallets in circulation. and maybe 10% of those are going to be active gamers, and that's going to be a combination of people that are playing to earn, people that are just playing to be there. I can tell you that there's a lot of concentric circles. A lot of gamers, they play several games, so you can't just base, oh, there's 10,000 players in this game, 5,000 players in this game. There's a lot of overlap, so it's very important to kind of look at YouTuber videos and streamers to kind of get an idea of how much like concurrent people are actually participating. So what I had learned was there isn't a lot of Web2 gamers out there. There's a lot of speculative traders, there's a lot of investors, and there's a lot of people that just came into the marketplace because it was an opportunity for them during like lockdown and quarantine conditions. It was a godsend for those people, but as opportunity left, so did those players. So I kind of, when I jumped into content creation more, I guess entrepreneurially, like I started a team and really started getting into it this year. I was doing advising last year. I did over 100 videos, and I was using Web3 centric hashtags, and it helped me grow a Web3 audience, but it did not grow my Web2 audience. Inherently using the words crypto, NFT, anything of that sort is just, it's not it for someone trying to attract the 2.6 billion gamers out there. So I've since then kind of been working with other influential leaders in the space, both, Web2 advisors, my good friend Bryson. And we found that the best strategy to do that is if you want to attract Web2 gamers, you have to be where they're at. So what me and Bryce are both doing in both kind of different ways, but we want to blur the lines of gaming in Web2 and Web3. My approach is I've been more or less someone who's been trying out a lot of new Web3 games. And what I'll be doing is using more of a generalized approach. I'm going to be doing reactionary style content, which is where I use where my name Spike Reacts comes from. And, 1 week I'll be giving my impressions just on pure gameplay, no talk of NFTs, no talk of crypto, and just show off fun gameplay. And then the next week I might be trying out a Web2 game, like Multiverse comes out. And it's just important to, promote Web3 content and package it and present it in the right way. And you have to be where those Web2 users are at. So it's important to incorporate Web2 content. Just because I'm a Web3 content creator doesn't mean I just do Web3 stuff. I think it's very important to, create those funnels to attract Web2 gamers that are focused on fun, unique experiences, and aligning myself with games that are also gameplay first. And I definitely seen a huge shift in focus. I thought, earning component of Web3 was going to be the Fortnite killer, if you would. We saw actually do 4 billion in marketplace transactions. It was neck to neck with like Warzone in terms of monetization numbers. But the thing with tokenomics is a dual-edged sword, and if people are there to earn and there's no earning, they're not going to play your game, and you're fighting for the same market share of gamers that are just there from the earning, hopping to game. So yeah, I've definitely been seeing a lot more games just more focused on that component, and then just using the earning or NFT elements, kind of the cherry on the top, or just like a way to enhance the user experience.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and
Go for it, Carolina.
No, I was just gonna say that here at Base, what we try to do is to complement whatever the games themselves are producing. So say that a game doesn't have a lot of staff to produce content, or even like content creators around the community. So and also what we do, like when we do our research, is to try to find like, okay, so if they do very basic content for their players, then maybe we can reach, I don't know, more experienced players with our content. So that's kind of what we try to do here, is really try to really build this community, and build the industry. So, there's no point for us to do exactly what the games do. So, say that, I don't know, Axie has all the content that, all the creators and even like the Axie team produces to players. So what are they missing? What can we complement with? So pretty much that's what we do. And also, like, we try to do some viral content, telling some stories around Web3. We have been getting some decent views on TikTok with that type of content.
Yeah, just to add to what Carolina said also, yeah, to me, I think If we're talking about gamers, of course, like video and video format might work a little bit better because it's always very digestible and it can be, ingrained in the feeds of YouTube or Twitch. So can be viewed at any time with whatever means. At the same time, yeah, it also depends on the kind of objective, whether, it's like acquisition, engagement, it's retention. For us, it's as a platform, as a multi-sided platform, right? We are dealing both with gamers and investors, right? So we need to kind of switch between the two. But ironically, not only video but also written content has helped, specifically for game reviews and aggregating existing resources, as Carolina was saying, right? So we just reviewed big time, and there were a lot of content creators already producing videos and writing articles. So it was just a matter of, okay, so this is where we are, and this is the list of resources that you can tap into, and this is sort of like our bits, our complementary content, right? So just adding into it with some thought leadership as well. So giving advice or on where the legacy, where the Web3 gaming direction should go.
Yeah, as for me, I create videos and tutorials, and whenever I stream my Web2 games, I try to talk to my community, introduce some of the Web3 games that I'm currently looking at, and also right now I'm trying to explore augmented reality and creating filters for Web3 contents. Actually, I launched a lie detector filter for Instagram recently that already has reached 400K impressions in the past 7 days. So anyway, hopefully augmented reality and filters for Facebook or Instagram can help promote Web3 eventually.
This is an interesting point. I kind of want to go back to kind of games themselves. What do they need to have in order for content creators to be making exciting content, right? From what I understand, exciting content can't be created for just kind of any type of game, or at least it's a lot more difficult for some types. So what does the game need to have, and what is it that you're looking for when you're considering creating content for a game?
Right now, it's very hard to create content for Web3 as compared to Web2 because most Web3 games are released despite of having they're released on alpha stage. So you really have to, if you want to, you're like overselling the future to your followers or to your community if you want to sell the Web3 game that's just been released in alpha stage. I think it's like a simple analogy for me is like if I'm promoting a Web2 game is like a cake and I can help my viewers or my community to taste the cake and to see the cake. But in Web3, I only have the ingredients, but I need to with the ingredients um, I have to describe what's going to taste like or what's the cake gonna look like to my viewers. So it's very hard to be honest, it's very hard to promote Web3 games right now.
I have a question for all of you here. Would you consider like platforms that you can earn crypto with Web2 games some sort of Web3 opportunity game, like some sort of like ZBD, that you can earn? Because I feel like what we do here at Base also is try to educate people about how they can use Web3 technologies to participate, even if it's not a Web3 native game. And I was curious to like learn your opinion on that to all of you.
That's interesting. So the first thing that comes to mind when you mention that is like community gaming. They're regularly hosting tournaments, both Web2 and Web3 on their platform. And I think Yes, but the emphasis is less on the Web3 element. And I don't think a game or a project has to be like fully gamified to be a Web3 project. You know, like if you are giving some layer of ownership or giving out, you know, like payouts, you know, tournament payouts, which is a good example of like blockchain utilization. You know, I've been in a couple Twitter spaces with community gaming, and they talked about some of the serious issues with esports and how it takes usually 60 to 90 days to play out players, whereas everything could be done seamlessly and quick and easy after a tournament's done in a matter of minutes on the community gaming platform. So yes, I would incorporate it into being Web3, just because it's utilizing the blockchain and some of those elements.
Yeah, for me, there's nothing wrong with using the platform as long as it's already known to a lot of people. Because if the platform is not yet known to a lot of people, it's gonna be hard to promote the game that's going to use the platform. You have to promote the platform first before we can promote whatever tournament we're going to do on that platform.
Just a second Lex opinion, nothing to add.
We mentioned esports here as part of this discussion, and curious, what is your view on esports, and is Web3 ready right now, and does that make for kind of an exciting content?
So what?
Yeah,
Go
ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, esports in general is very exciting to a lot of people. But a lot of games, as even in Web2, tried to break through that esports barrier, but they didn't really go big. So I think what the Web3 needs, if they want to go to esports, is no advantage if you have lots of money. I mean, people don't like to play games that are pay to win, especially in esports, because esports should be fair to everyone. So if it involves a lot of money for you to be able to win an esports game, I don't think people would actually be involved in an esports game that involves pay to win.
I think we see a good example with Axie Sports. Like they do have some very good short tournaments, and I think that's very healthy, like for the community, for content creation, for like creating heroes. Because in the end of the day, we all like to like root for someone and to look at someone who's doing good and try to learn from this person. So I think like I agree with Lex, like in terms of I don't know if it would like I don't know how long it will take for us to get to a level of League of Legends or CS, but I do think that it's important, even like for the game, for the community, and for us content creators to have some tournaments happening, like short ones. I think I don't know. I think it's healthy for the product.
So my take, and I've learned quite a bit jumping in different Twitter spaces, was that the unique thing about esports is that it kind of gives more life and variety to games. If you look at like a traditional MMO, for example, like you have your dungeons and you battle, and there isn't much variation, there isn't much competition. Once you kind of done it, you got core. Whereas like if you reintroduce esports, you can build in a very private community of players that are competitive and always trying to progress and compete each other. Also creates an amazing narrative around favorite players and teams. So it does add a lot to that. I think it's also important to look at the style game. Not every game can be esports. It definitely helps when they aren't pay to win. A good example of one of the most popular Web2 games that didn't have success in esports was Minecraft. They were really trying to push for that, but in its nature, Minecraft isn't a competitive game, so it never saw fruition. A project that's you've shown, I've seen a lot of potential interest. I'm actually going to try to see if I can help be part of the growth of its esports as EVIO. It's a free to play game that doesn't require you to pay anything. It's not pay to win. And I see that they have a lot of ties to Web2. Parent companies owns a tier one esports organization called Luminosity Gaming. So I've definitely shown a lot of interest in that. I think as a content creator, it's definitely been a good way. I saw a lot of esports players in Axie really have a lot more opportunities and resources for filling some of those, spots, whether it be shoutcasting or support staff, or, if they have the time and effort, to compete competitively.
Yeah, for us at Unbound, we definitely see value in sort of esports. Let's call it esports. It's just like being really competitive. Our out of 10 top players on the leaderboard, eight of them are our players, right? So they're really competitive players, really knowledgeable for immortal game like this chess game. And you have like real grandmaster, like chess grandmaster. So it's like people who are winning the Olympiads and winning international tournaments and so on. So they can be really, really competitive. So definitely a lot of potential in terms of content creation, not only in what Carolina was saying in building these heroes, right, within the community, but also, what can you do with their knowledge and their drive, right, to be so competitive? Like, for example, in chess, like learning chess classes, or let's say tournaments with like these top players, any initiatives that you can think of. They could even write blog articles or write videos for you, right? Or shoot videos for you, right? About the game, about their experience. So a lot of potential, not only in building their brand, but for them to build your brand by sharing their knowledge, not only if it's like chess or FPS or RPG, whatever, but also about what Web3 can bring to players.
I'm curious from kind of a creative perspective. Do first-person shooters have kind of an edge where it comes to interest from content creators and audience? I think Nico mentioned chess. I myself play a little bit of chess, obviously not at a pro level, but I'd watch some kind of educational things. But from from kind of a gaming perspective, it seems that there's a lot of first-person shooters, and there seems to be kind of a lot of excitement around first-person shooter games, even in Web3. Do they have an edge? Is it harder for other games to get content creators to create stuff? And why is it that first-person shooters kind of take center stage?
Let me take a shot at that. So what I think is important in gaming, be able to like jump in and play with your friends right away. Whereas like a traditional MMO, like you might have to play countless hours before you reach a rank where you can start playing with people. Whereas I think FPS games, like it plugs you in and gets you there right away. Another example of a non-FPS game that's good at this is Fall Guys. You can literally download the game and start playing with your friends. So I think both for the entertainment side of things, side of content, and just overall experience with gamers, it's just easier to kind of jump in and play a game.
I agree. And it's easier to understand if it's FPS, especially if you're just watching and somebody kills an enemy. You know that guy is good because he's killing a lot of enemies, right? Unlike in MMORPGs, like you don't understand what's actually happening unless you've played the game. So it's easier actually to understand if it's FPS.
Definitely agree on these sports as a discipline. I'd say FPS for sure. Definitely has an edge, much more intuitive and probably more adrenalinic as well. So I test your nerves and everything, and probably more entertaining to see. Although, but yeah, myself as an RPG fan, I love to watch Guild Wars or any like massive raids in big dungeons and big bosses, right? So really much depends what the objective of the team is. If it's popularity, right, so branding, or if it's like monetization. So that's also a different discussion.
I want to discuss a little bit about tooling. I think, Lex, you mentioned kind of VR, AR stuff, but in general, kind of what tools do you use to create content, and what tools do you think will make it easier to get people excited about kind of Web3 games?
I use Blender. It's a free Photoshop. It's used for 3D animation. I also use Spark AR. It's the augmented reality app created by Facebook. And so far, that's what I'm using if I'm creating filters for Instagram and Facebook. As for making things exciting, I think it's how as a content creator, it's not what you say, it's actually more on how you say things. It's how you hype the people. If you could express your energy, your sincerity in making the video, your viewers will definitely feel your excitement, and you'll be able to transfer the energy or the excitement to your viewers as well.
For written content, I'd say Grammarly, and but then at the end of the day, you can have all the tools that you want for SEO and whatnot. But again, it's how you relate. How can you put yourself in the shoes of whoever consumes it and digests the contents? And the more engaging that is, the better. Tools, of course, can help you out, but it's like going on an electric bike, but you have zero muscles in your legs, and the bike can do till a certain point. It's really about what you write and how you can entertain the reader or the watcher.
What advice would you give content creators looking to explore the Web3 space?
I would use the do your own research tool. You know what I mean? Like, also for this, I think it's like very important to understand, like, before creating content, just to understand what's missing, and then you can send out. As I was saying, like for us, there's not a lot of Portuguese, like for Portuguese speakers, content for Web3, and very kind of joyful content, because sometimes I feel like Web3 content creators expect people, and of course I'm not talking about everyone here, but like a few contents I saw, I kind of feel people, they think everybody knows all the like concepts and everything. So I think it's important to understand what's missing and how you can connect with people and stand out as like a brand or a creator. And then like, so for instance, like here at Base, we not only produce content for the brand and the partners, but we also have creators, like talent. So we also help them find this sort of gaps in the content creation and make them stand out. And that has worked with a few of them already. So that's a good thing to, just to try to utilize what's missing and produce it, either if it's like I don't know, some written content or like a video content or even like live streams. So I think it's important to just make sure that we're covering everything.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead, Spike. Go ahead.
The biggest word of advice I can give to aspiring creators is just to do it. Like, I guess the best way to put it, it's kind of natural to not want to put yourself out there unless it's your best self. And, content creation is a journey of self-development and improvement. And, I can tell you, anyone, when they start from the get-go, they might be at different starting blocks, but if you are taking this seriously, and it's more than just a hobby, like it's something that you're constantly developing and better at. So, it's definitely a little scary to see people that are doing it professionally, that are doing it for years, to provide a certain level. Whereas, starting out, it's okay for it not to be the best, but just to have an aspiration to continue to improve and get better.
Totally agree with Spike. I guess just do it, as Nike says. I guess it's not only about blockers or anything. It's also about the sort of I don't know anything about Web3 or the terminology and whatnot. And everybody started small, so I think this is a big up for everyone. We're starting all from scratch or almost from scratch. So just do it and build your own community or followers around you, and read constantly. I allocate half an hour to 1 hour a day to just read through things and watch videos and so on, just to keep myself abreast of the news. And one also other thing is, everything is relative in Web3 gaming. One thing that you're going to say one month, maybe in 2 weeks, is not going to be relevant anymore. So even big brands in Web3 gaming that are let's say thought leaders and research centers and whatnot, who talk in absolutisms. So with absolute certainty, I wouldn't trust that, just because, again, nothing is certain. Everything can change. We can just predict the direction. Last but not least, join communities of other creators in Web3 gaming. There's Walls DAO and Fog DAO, highly recommended, besides the Blockchain Game Alliance. So just join these communities and you will find other like-minded people who produce content on a daily basis.
Wanted to ask about localization. I think all of our speakers, coming from different regions. I'm curious, how much does kind of regional idiosyncrasy, how much does language, how much does that play into the type of content you create and how region specific it becomes?
I think unless you go viral, the if I'm going to create a content, I'll always focus on my community rather than thinking what can I gain if I don't focus on my community. So unless I go viral, I won't be having any problems with barrier on language.
Yeah, we do have creators here in Brazil, in like creators covering Latam and the US. So, but like for Base, the brand, we are focusing on Portuguese speakers, really. So, what we have noticed is that we don't have to translate everything always. People do understand. So, like, the basics of English. So, sometimes what we do is like just to make sure, for instance, like either like motion graphics or static content, people can consume whatever language they speak. Like, I mean, of course, considering they speak English. But I think like I agree with Lex, is more about the community we build. So I know that our community for the brand is mostly like Portuguese speaker, and then obviously we have our English base as well, for especially for businesses. So we try to cover like at least these two parts, but I think it's, again, if we're talking about like written content or like video content, or even like live stream or like spaces like this, I think it's hard for you to kind of localize. You do have to have specific accounts for each language. That is my perspective.
Awesome. I think we're coming up to the top of the hour, and I always like to end with pretty much the same question. What is one thing that you're super excited about over the coming months? I'd like to just kind of go around and have everybody just kind of say one or two things that you're really excited about in this space for the coming months.
I'm sure you guys know Sword Art Online, right? And I think Facebook is trying to create something like very similar to Sword Art Sword Art Online, where it's already in virtual reality. So hopefully, I won't die before something like Sword Art Online is released in real life. That's what I'm really looking forward in the future.
Well, as of me, I guess I think I understood the lesson in Web3 gaming, and we started shying away from play to earn and or click to earn or move to earn, whatever that is, to actually like build real games. There are really promising games in the pipelines who will see their launch in from next year. So really excited to just like play these games and actually like being immersed in it and not even realize that I'm a Web3 gamer just by playing them and having fun. And then second of all, yeah, just more and more people becoming aware of Web3, not only NFTs and going beyond the NFTs are a scam sort of thing, and just like trying to really understand and even join the workforce, let's say, of Web3, the small circle that is now getting bigger.
I guess I'm more always kind of gameplay oriented. I'm looking forward to all these exciting games coming out that have been in like early access or alpha that are just maturing and getting closer to full launch in the Web3 space.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's mostly like looking forward to those great games coming in the future. And also, I think it's a very good opportunity to show people like if you were like an early adopter, you would benefit from it. And that's the whole point of the industry, right? So like be part of it, contribute, and just be rewarded for that. So I think it's a good thing for us to also kind of, I don't know, hope that we can create this FOMO for new adopters and just enlarge the community.
Awesome. Well, that takes us to the top of the hour. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, speakers, for sharing your thoughts. And this is a weekly Twitter Spaces, so we'll be back here next week. And thank you for joining this week, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Ilya. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.